prisoners within the release program. And you're wanting to do this at your facility on, I believe that's Walsh Drive?
Correct.
And could you describe for us what your plans are, what that would entail? Would it involve modifications to your facilities? How many federal prisoners are we talking? Data's, I think, where we're wanting to go here for a moment.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with all of you. And just as a formality, I'll introduce myself. My name is Chris Boston. I'm the executive director. I've been with Nowcap for 16 years, and I'm about ready to have my 13th anniversary as executive director. To my right is J.D. Wolf. He's the assistant executive director. Recently rejoined our organization last July, and was former owner of an organization that Nowcap purchased and merged within our operation last July called Eagle Ability Services. Both of us have many, many years of experience in this business, and so we do appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with all of you. If I may, Mr. Chairman, just kind of, this is a complicated issue. This is a complicated situation that has been detailed in the Casper Star Tribune and on the television a bit, and I think it would be good if we could give some context to the application and why we submitted the application. I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but this is our 30th anniversary of providing services in Natrona County. We were awarded a contract in 1985 to begin providing services to people with disabilities, and so we are having our 30th anniversary this year. That's quite a milestone and quite a history of commitment and services to our citizens who have intellectual disabilities and brain injuries here in Natrona County and also around Wyoming. We also have programs in Cody, Worland, and Rock Springs, and we also operate a contract, an employment service contract in North Platte, Nebraska. The reason that we applied for the Federal Bureau of Prisons contract for their Community Reentry Center, CRC, commonly referred to as CRC services, is really singular in that over the course of the last year, the state of Wyoming has undergone significant changes to the services and the regulatory requirements that we must follow, and financial requirements that we must follow for services for people with disabilities in Wyoming. It's commonly referred to as the Home and Community-Based Waiver Program. And quite frankly, the reason that we applied for the contract, and I want to make clear right now up front to all of you, is that, as the chairman indicated, we are only applying for the contract to serve federal offenders who are within 6 months of being released from the federal system that is currently being operated through, I'm not sure what the organization is called currently, but Community Alternatives, or CAC, out by the airport. I think everybody is familiar with that. And as we started looking at the RFP, the request for proposal from the federal government, we really found that there were some opportunities for us to be able to expand our business, what we do, and to be able to provide some financial stability to our organization. So going back just a bit to talking about the changes to the reason that we're making the application. Over the last 3 years, the state of Wyoming has made significant changes to the waiver system that supports people with disabilities across Wyoming. And it is becoming increasingly difficult for organizations such as Nowcap to be able to function within that regulatory environment. The challenges financially, in a regulatory environment, both from the federal, but mostly from the state government, is becoming very, very difficult for us to function within that business space, quite frankly. And so we had about 7 years ago, I don't know if any of you remember, but our facility down on Walsh Drive, 345 North Walsh Drive, was a fairly dilapidated, poor functioning and poor looking facilities. our facility that we had operated in since 1991. And so Nowcap made a significant investment of $3 million to renovate that facility. And I hope all of you know where we're located now, and I hope that all of you find that our facilities are very fine looking. They are very functional. They meet the needs of the people that we support in an excellent manner. But unfortunately, last March of 2014, the federal government issued new rules from what's called the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, commonly referred to as CMS, that started to mandate that states look at services that are provided to people on the home and community-based waiver programs. And the states needed to come up with an action plan to comply with the rules that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services have promulgated. And those rules really surrounded services that the services that are provided had to not have institutional-like qualities. And unfortunately, the state of Wyoming has taken what were workable, usable rules issued by the federal government. And you don't really hear me say this very often, but the federal government's rules were very workable. They're not unreasonable. But unfortunately, the state of Wyoming has taken the federal rules, and they are currently in the last stages of promulgating state rules that basically will put the services at risk that are being offered at the Walsh Drive location from allowing Nowcap services to being able to provide services there. And so, quite frankly, this was a move for us to protect our organization financially, because not a lot of people know this, but Nowcap Services doesn't take grant money or any money from Natrona County, doesn't take any money from the city of Casper or any other municipality or county. All of the funds that we receive are a fee for service, which means we provide a service, we get paid a fee, just like any other business that perhaps you were all involved in, just like any physician, any doctor, any grocery store, whatever. And we raised some money from the generosity of the Daniels Fund and from Mick and Susie McMurray, but it was very modest. It was $150,000 that they together gave us, and we ponied up $2.8 million of Nowcap's money. $600,000 of that was cash, and $2.1 million was in the form of a bank loan from Hilltop National Bank. We currently owe about $1.9 million on that property, and so we had to start reading the tea leaves and saying, look, if the state of Wyoming comes in and says you can't provide services here anymore, we're not going to be able to pay the debt service, and we have to find an alternative use for those facilities. We've looked at elder care services. We've looked at this community reentry center services, elder care services. Right now, I'm working with the state on allowing some alternative uses for those facilities, but those are not coming along with any funding attached to them directly from the state. And so when this opportunity appeared back in December, I started to do some research as to the requirements of the RFP. We currently are a federal contractor. We operate 4 other contracts, not providing reentry services, but we are a contractor with the federal government. And so we looked at the contract as a whole, looked at the requirements, looked at what we could offer in the fact that we provide employment services, we provide mental health services, we provide a large amount of wraparound services that I think would be attractive to the Bureau of Prisons. It would be a completely different way of providing services to these federal offenders who, again, I want to reiterate, are going to be released. They will be released. They will reintegrate in the community, and within 6 months of coming into a program. And so whether or not we like it or not, they are going to be out and about in our community. And so the question that I came up with is, or asked myself, can we provide a service and a product that's superior to what is being currently provided out at the incumbent contractor? And I believe we could. And so the plan is that if we are awarded that contract, we would retrofit the facility on Walsh Drive to be the exclusive site for serving people the federal offender program, which would be a maximum of 54 people residing in the 3 residences at those facilities. That's all that we would accept. Realistically, the number would be more historically is around 30 to 35 people in that program. And contrary to community discussion and rumors and all of that, we were not, would not, and never will commingle populations such as federal offenders returning to the community with people with intellectual disabilities and brain injuries.
How do you guarantee that?
Well,
how would you guarantee that?
The guarantee, Commissioner Keating, is that those people would move to a new location. People who currently live on our campus would be relocated to facilities that meet the requirements of the CMS standards. And that facility, nobody would be there would be no services to people with disabilities on that campus. And again, the reason that we're doing this, folks, and I want to make it perfectly clear, we did not come to this conclusion lightly. But the facts of the matter is, really comes down to dollars and cents. A year ago, Nowcap Services was sitting with a surplus at the end of May in 2014. We were sitting with a surplus of approximately $400,000 in our budget. Today, at the end of May, we are sitting with a deficit of almost $500,000.
And that's without the new...
No, these are what the changes that occurred last July 1st. On the funding side, these do not even include the changes that are coming down with the facility requirements that are going to be impending. And so either I am the world's most incompetent manager, which I'm not going to deny that is a possibility, but I don't even know if I could pull that off. $1 million swing in 1 year. And simply by having changes to our waiver system to the funding last July 1st, and it absolutely, we are facing significant challenges if the state of Wyoming chooses to implement these rules the way that they're proposing. And I will just tell you, if they will have every opportunity and all the power to be able to come in and say you cannot provide services here any longer. And if they do that, then Nowcap Services will close. We would close if the state chose to do that. Am I saying that they are going to do that? I can't say that they won't do it. That's what worries me. And so I have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization, to my employees, and to the participants who we currently serve, people with disabilities. I have an obligation to them to be able to position our organization and defend the organization from what I would call an intrusive overreach from the state government in interpreting the CMS rules that is putting risk for all participants of the waiver program around the state. This is not anything new. This is not unique to Nowcap Services. Programs around the state are closing, and because they have not been able to survive the financial changes. There are 2 in the state that are in imminent risk of closure. The reason that we're doing this is so that the people that we currently serve will continue to have services from Nowcap Services for another 30 years. And unfortunately, the beautiful facilities that we've created, we have taken a private entrepreneurial approach by not taking any public funding for that facility. We own it. It is the property of our program. We do not have any 1 cent money in it, anything like that. And we're proud of that fact. But we also now are faced with these challenges, and we have to do what we have to do to defend and protect our program. And unfortunately, that's where we are.
So you say that if you take these reentry people, you would not commingle them.
Correct.
So where would the current Nowcap residents go? And what I'm hearing, this is kind of a two-pronged question and comment. What I'm hearing is that if you get this contract, it will save your Nowcap services here So will you then be building a new facility? Where will those people go? How are you going to address that issue? And it would appear to me that at some point you're going to say, gee, this is making us a lot of money. This isn't. We're going to dump that. See where I'm going with that?
No, I don't. I completely disagree with that assessment. Our primary mission has been and continues to be to provide services to people with disabilities. Quite frankly, if that was our intention and that was our approach, we would be closed now and we would sell our facilities and go do something else. And I will remind you, Chairman Chadwick, that we have been here 30 years. And that's why I opened this presentation, because we've received quite a bit of nasty discussion on the internet about our intentions and about what we are doing. And I will tell you that we've not responded to that, and nor will I directly respond to the claims. But I will tell you straight up is that without having some sort of change, either in the state of Wyoming and their approach to providing these services, or having alternative uses for our facilities, be it people, the proposal that we have submitted, or some other use within the next whatever period of time, which I'm not sure what that time period is, we are placing our organization at risk of going broke and closing. And so whether that choice is, whether people think that choice is right or wrong, or true or not, it is true. It is what we're facing, and that's why we're doing what we're having to do. And every provider is facing this. Some providers do not understand the gravity. Mr. Wolf, he has been on the steering committee for the implementation of these new rules since day one, so we kind of have an inside track on these changes. And if you would just simply go to the State of Wyoming's Department of Health website and look at the Behavioral Health Division and the changes that they are proposing, you will understand what we are fearful of. It is not a secret. It is all out there, and it is for public consumption. So,
okay, so let me get back to my question, though. But what happens to the displaced residents?
We develop new housing for them that complies with the CMS requirements as being interpreted by the state of Wyoming.
So would that be easier than modifying your current?
There's not an option of modifying our current facilities. There is the issues are so deep, Chairman Chadwick, that I don't think we have time to go into all the details. But you have to understand the big issue that we have currently facing us really sits with the co-location of our day services on Walsh Drive and the 3 residences that are located there. Those really are the issue. That is really the issue that we're facing. And that is the significant investment that we made 6 or 7 years ago in developing that housing, where we believe, with the rules as they are written and are being proposed and will probably be promulgated soon, the services provided at those homes, which are for the most disabled, people with significant, serious, complex medical issues, will be at risk. And so, if you want to characterize it as what are we going to try to find another business that's more profitable and all of that, no. What we're trying to do is find another business to take on the debt and be able to service the debt and deal with the facility that we have, so that we can go out and we can develop more housing to serve the most complicated, the most highest need people in the state of Wyoming. Because what's going to happen, there are no other providers in the community of Casper, and I will dare say that there are no other providers in the state other than maybe the state institution that is equipped to deal with the people that we serve. They are people who have open trachs, feeding tubes, stomas, suprapubic catheters, require 24-hour support in every aspect of their life. And so absolutely not. We're actually doing all of this so that those folks can stay in Casper, they can still live in a non-institutional setting, but that we can meet the definition of a silly rule that the state of Wyoming is taking to an extreme to make it impossible for us to be able to safely and financially safely continue to provide services at the Walsh Drive location. If the state of Wyoming wasn't doing what they're doing, we would not be submitting an application and trying to find an alternative use for our facility.
Commissioner Key?
What experience do you guys have housing federal offenders?
We have no experience housing federal offenders, but we have a lot of experience managing broad range of human service programs, housing some of our participants are sex offenders. We have people historically who have been in our program and the waiver system around the state of Wyoming. What we can offer and what we're proposing to the federal government is that we are going to be able to provide a management structure and a framework to be able to effectively meet the requirements of the RFP. And I believe that we have every capability of doing that.
Commissioner Henry?
What I was wondering about is you're talking about the legislature is doing some rules and promulgating rules that is not going to make it easy for you to make a living. Have you gone to committee meetings and talked to them about it?
Commissioner Henry, I live at committee meetings, and the state legislators from all the counties that we're associated with, we're on first name basis. They all know our issues, it is an ongoing. That's one of my primary responsibilities.
Are you on tap to be down here the 8th when the Labor and Health Committee meets here in Cass?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm at every Labor Committee meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Schlager?
Mr. Chairman, what modifications are you going to have to make to the facility that you have now to meet the requirements of the federal proposal?
The RFP requires some access to some of the safety equipment that we have that for the staff in a central location, and so in discussion with our alarm company and such, it's minor. The facilities are sprinklered. They have all of the safety equipment, all of that, so that would be the only requirement from a facility standpoint that we would have to make changes.
Okay. And you mentioned some of the violations that these folks have committed. How do you plan on dealing with the fact that your facility is within a mile of 2 grade schools, within 2 miles of a high school, within probably 700 feet of a McDonald's with a playland? How do you intend on dealing with issues such as that?
The issues that will come across that we deal with would be no different than what the incumbent contractor deals with when the offenders are in the community when they're not sleeping at the facility near the airport. The facility and the program that currently is being offered, the service is being operated under, is a commingled operation with the state of Wyoming. There are 2 contracts. One is an incarceration program and then this program.
Right.
And this particular program is replicated throughout the United States successfully as a community-based program. The offenders in this program will have to meet admissions requirements. The Federal Bureau of Prisons does not put every offender. As a matter of fact, they only put a few offenders through this program because many of these folks will now be facing parole after being released from prison. And so the idea is these low-level offenders that are going to be part of this program, that are part of these programs, are receiving, because that's another thing that, it's going to be a bunch of sex offenders, it's going to be a bunch of folks, drug dealers and people like that. Quite to the contrary, these are your low-level offenders who are going to be in the community regardless. And so are we going to provide them with the supportive services of education, which we will provide in mental health treatment, substance abuse programming, which we will provide, employment services, which we provide, in reintegration and getting tied to to natural supports within the community, like church communities, religious institutions. We already provide those services, and we have those relationships. And so, and then 24-hour monitoring. Either electronic or if they are not in need of the electronic monitoring, because that's part of the proposal as well, being able to track and where the person is located at all times. So that's our plan.
You understand, though, that part of your problem that you're going to have is your facility's location.
Mm-hmm.
Your facility's location is strictly smack dab inside of town,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the other facility is 10 miles out of town.
Correct.
Okay, so you're fighting that battle, and quite honestly, a sex offender that's 10 miles out of town has a whole lot less access to victims.
Unfortunately, those sex offenders will be spending time, most of their waking day, from working and participating in community day-to-day living. They are already here, and they are not being monitored from in town. They're being monitored from 10 miles outside of town. So I think you can make an argument that the supervision could actually be more improved. And with the wraparound supportive services, Commissioner Schlager, that are not being provided currently, I think that's the whole intention of the RFP. And I understand people's concern. Federal offenders are not the most favored group of people to have as next door neighbors. I understand those things. But the bottom line is, these folks are going to be running around our community one way or the other. Are they going to be prepared to be in the community? Are they going to be prepared and have a job? Are they going to be prepared and have their substance abuse and mental health treatment services, or there's issues addressed before they're just released? I think we have to take a step back and say, is there a good framework and a good program being offered to them at this particular point in time? And I think there's some significant evidence out there that there are concerns with the incumbent, and that's going to be up to the Federal Bureau of Prisons to decide. But I think I'm confident in all the services that we can provide. I think that we can do it in a safe and effective manner, meeting the requirements of the proposal.
Any follow-up? So I guess the bottom line for me is there will be total separation of the two populations in two separate sites.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to know that for sure. So
Did you ever shut
the
up?
question then becomes for us, because
He's like a fucking chatty cat.
how we are involved is we have an opportunity to write a comment letter that would be part of the record.
Talk about somebody drunk
and
on their own voice.
So I need opinions, everybody's opinion on if we should do a comment letter and what the nature of that letter should be.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hendry.
Which facility is going to house the prisoners?
Walsh Drive.
Which one, north or south?
North
Walsh Drive. The facility we have on South Walsh Drive is a whole separate division and program that has nothing to do with
So it's going to be above the
providing
post
services.
office.
Yes.
This letter that we'd be writing would be, who makes the calls? The Federal Bureau of Prisons?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
that's who we would address it to.
Yeah.
Or comment letter.
I think it'd be extremely irresponsible to write a letter of support without, a group of folks that don't have any experience housing federal prisoners, without seeing the facility that they proposed to build. That being said, on the other end of it, I think we need to talk to our state legislators and find out why that the people that that Nowcap is servicing, why the funding's being cut.
Think
And
Obama.
it's not specifically that it's being cut, is it?
Yes, it is, and it's becoming more difficult for providers to be able to capture the available funds that are available to us to provide services, and that's really the issue, Chairman. is, if, again, I
issue
cited
is
our
what's
financials.
happening to our
From a year
tax
ago, our
dollars.
operations have not changed.
Where are
The
they?
nature of our operations
They're
have
not going on
changed.
roads.
And so either, again, I am the most incompetent manager, which I'm not going to argue that that may be the case, or our funding has just changed. And if you look at our financials, that's the issue. And these are decisions that the state of Wyoming has put us in position to have to make. And I understand, Commissioner Keating and Commissioner Schlager, your concerns, but you also have to understand my concern and my obligation to our organization. And I believe that we can provide these services safely. We don't want to provide these services. This is not something that we went out and we searched out and said, this is a strategic plan on our part.
Right.
But we have to, I have an obligation to the 95 people who I provide services to. If we do not somehow get assistance to pay for the facility that we have invested privately,
Right.
okay? And the state of Wyoming says no more services now, Cap, we're done. We will either pull out of Casper, we will either downsize to such we'll have to sell that facility to pay for the loan. We will have to do something. And the bottom line is the state of Wyoming, the Department of Health, they are trying to create something that is unreasonable, and they are going to hurt people with disabilities. And I know that the Star
Right,
Tribune's
and-
here,
right, and-
I want to make it clear that this is not Nowcap's doing. This is
People
the
with
state of Wyoming's
disabilities
doing,
and
because
prisoners
we would
are
not
two
be having
different
this
things, sir.
conversation if it wasn't for the choices that they're making.
Well, I do know, Mr. Chairman, that the legislators cut the Department of Health's budget, and they had to come out of somewhere with it. So that may have something to do with it.
Chair, may I speak to
Yes.
Commissioner Hendry? You're exactly right, sir. What has happened is that the director of the Department of Health was tasked with trying to control costs of Medicaid. And our Medicaid program is divided into two different parts. One is called mandatory Title 19 Medicaid, which means if you qualify for Title 19, you get it. And the state of Wyoming and the federal government pay for it, whether they have the money or not. And then there's optional services. And Nowcap services, the waiver program that is provided, that we are funded under, are optional services. Well, guess what? The Department of Health has chosen to take money from mental health, disability services, and substance abuse. If you want to talk about funding, talk to Central Wyoming Counseling Center and what's happened to their block grant. Same thing that has happened to us, because those services are optional. Our services are optional, Title 19. And so what actually has happened is a shell game. We have shifted money from the optional services to the mandatory services, and we have restricted and constricted the way for programs to be able to collect for the services that they've provided, and also the rates of reimbursement. And I wasn't going to get into this, but I'll just make a mention to you as well. We have not had an increase in our rates of reimbursement in 7 years. Now, I don't know about all of you who are in business, but I don't think businesses can keep their prices at the same place for 7 years, particularly about the 7 years that we've just had, the blessings that we've had in Natrona County and in Wyoming, the wonderful economy that we've had. I've not been given the resources to be able to compete to pay for my services, my employees for the services that they provide.
Now it's starting to go the other way.
And it's starting to affect us, and so what is going to happen? And so I guess, again,
Eventually, these services are going to have to become self-sufficient. You can't keep robbing taxpayer money for services that, that are not wholeheartedly supported.
Today, we would do something different as well, because we are not looking to get into some other line of business. But I do believe we can do this safely. I do believe we have the capability. I do believe we can do it. And unfortunately, we have to.
Mr. Chairman, if the prisoners came, you want them to come to Nowcap here. If they didn't come to Nowcap, where would they go?
There are two applications, as far as I'm aware, for this RFP. One is the incumbent contractor,
Which
and
is
out of the airport, and us.
CAC,
Now CRC, I think.
Yeah, they changed it
okay.
now. So there's two of you that are applying.
Yes.
And if you didn't get it, there'd just be less prisoners come or more out there?
They would continue providing the services that are under the current contract.
In other words, a
Nothing would
monopoly.
change, basically.
So what you're saying is two of you have applied and it's either you or them?
Correct.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
It is a competitive bid.
You know what? I think where I'm at with it is I think that this commission needs to address the issue that we need to step up and make sure that the weakest in our community are cared for, right?
Yes, sir.
We need to approach our state legislature. We need to talk to our governor and whatever, and get these issues addressed, right? Turns out that the Wyoming rep from the Wyoming County Commissioners Association is sitting behind you today, right? So I don't know that that's. I think that's can be helpful, right? And maybe it's an issue that we can take up as commissioners statewide, right? But honestly, it concerns me that people that have no experience housing federal prisoners, federal offenders, would would make application to do such a thing. I've heard you several times say that you believe that you could provide a good service. And the whole time you're saying that, I'm thinking of Jurassic Park when they were getting that DNA out of the amber, and they thought it was a good idea at the time, and they ended up with an animal that they just couldn't handle. And that's kind of how I see your approach. I really truly do appreciate the fact that you're doing everything you can. You've found an avenue that you believe would help you continue to care for the weakest in our community. I don't know that. You have everything in place, including the experience required, I think, to house federal prisoners to really make that happen. And but I think we do need to move forward, Mr. Chairman, and address some of the issues of funding that have been cut. And so maybe we can find a better solution.
So, do we write a letter, Steve?
Yes, and I would agree with Commissioner Keating that we need to. I don't think it's the best idea to support Nowcap, unfortunately. I don't think they have the experience. I don't think it's the best facility, but I do think we need to help them with addressing the funding.
Okay, Commissioner Lawson?
So the letter would be addressing the funding? I'm trying to understand.
No.
Commissioner.
No.
And before the comment letter got signed, it would go out to you guys for comments. If we captured our conversation here today. So are you good with the comment letter?
Again, what would be in the comment letter?
Right.
We're going to try to capture what's here, and like I said, I can't tell you exactly what's going to be.
But
just listen to it for 45 minutes.
Federal Bureau of Prisons to say yes or no.
That's correct.
In support. Okay. Yeah. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'm a no.
A comment letter, yes, but the tenor of the letter would be.
I think we need to write a letter. Yes,
okay.
I do think we need a letter, but
okay.
I'm the same way.
John, comment letter.
I'm sorry. I don't feel I'm getting a straight answer here. What is being proposed in the comment letter?
I'm getting the feeling that it's mostly a negative support.
So there's two parts to the comment letter. One's going to be.
And if you want a positive aspect put in it, we'll put it in.
All I'm asking is what was being proposed, because it sounded like the comment letter was going to be going forward to question why the state is promulgating rules that doesn't allow this to occur.
No, our comment letter will be specific to their application to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, that they be allowed to have the site for their activities. And at their application or their proposal is to have it there, and they're gonna tell the federal prisons at what price they can do that at. So it's up.
Are you that
up to
stupid,
us
Chadwick?
whether we want to support that or not. And if if we have,
Yes.
you know, a lot of negative support, then that will be in the letter. And if you want to put something positive in there, put it in there.
Well, maybe I wasn't clear, Mr. Chairman. What I thought I said was I would be in support of writing a letter. I think we need to write a letter to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, but in not recommending that the current operators of Nowcap be granted, you know, the ability to house federal offenders.
Okay, so
And
you,
then-
you don't want any positive in there at all?
I'm extremely negative.
Okay.
And then the other thing he said, I think, John, was that we asked the legislature, hey, what's up with?
Well, that's on-
But that's a separate action.
Separate,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's on beyond the letter.
Yes,
Okay, that's,
not included in the letter.
Not
that's what was getting
included.
mixed,
Yes.
that was what was
No,
getting
there's
mixed
no
in the
reason to put that in
discussion.
there.
Yes.
I think I
Because
understood
the
English here.
invitation that we have from the Federal Bureau of Prisons is simply to comment on the application.
I
Correct.
can remember being at that meeting and they were talking about Evanston and they were going to have to put a lot of money in it and they needed places, but why are they cutting funding?
And we've gone beyond, John, anything else?
No.
Okay. Guys, I think you've got a tenor of the opinions of this group. And
If they
we'll
do,
be
they're
writing our
totally
letter.
confused, because I am.
Thank you very much for coming.
I guess I just, if I may, Chairman, may I make a closing comment?
Sure.
Absolutely understand your position. Not surprised, and if I was sitting in your position, your seats, I probably would be the same way. But I would ask you, 30 years we have been here, the millions and millions of dollars that we've invested, the lives that we have changed and continue to change, day in and day out, are at risk. And we do need your help. Unfortunately,
comes down
it
to
has now come
self-sufficient.
to this. And we do need the Natrona County Commission to step up to the plate and advocate for people with disabilities in your county. And I'm sorry, in a state like ours, we should not be having this discussion, folks. It is not right. And I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for, you know, as the director of the Department of Health has called it, the Cadillac program. But by golly, we need to have a good quality Chevy driving down the road for the folks that we support and that you represent. And so if you would like to discuss, I'm meeting with the governor on the 15th of June. I would be happy to ask him if any of you would like to go with me and to express your concerns or encourage you to call Tom Forsland and ask him what's going on. I think you all probably know who that is, and see what he's done about this issue. And or if you would like to come and learn more about our program and what's going on financially, our organization's transparent. I'd be happy to share whatever you want to know. If you want to know more, I'll leave my business cards with Michelle, and you're welcome to contact me directly or the representative from your association. But I would welcome all the help that you can give us because it is time. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.